Well, yesterday was NFL roster cut day. We're here to walk you through all of the roster cuts, plus Dylan Cruz making his highly anticipated debut for the Washington Nationals, the Little League World Series coming to an end. A winner has been crowned, the Packers trading for a new backup quarterback, and we continue NFL Predictions Week with my NFL Offensive Player of the Year power rankings. All of that and more right here on Coast to Coast Sports. My name is Levi, but let's begin with Aaron Rodgers. And I've been meaning to talk Aaron Rodgers for a while now. Haven't really had a chance to, but a lot of news to get to. But Aaron Rodgers, look, last year I had the Jets ranked as a top contender. I had them as, I think, the fifth best team in football. I had them going to the AFC Championship game. I was very sold on the Jets. I was sold on Aaron Rodgers being a New York Jet. And what's funny is it's exactly the same team, and I am no longer bought in at all. Like, not at all. I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to pull this thing off. You know, I haven't done my predictions yet. I'm doing those on Saturday, by the way, Saturday night. Live stream. I'm going live after the Cougars football game. Go Cougs. I'll be going live to do my full schedule prediction, so you don't want to miss that. So if you want to see it, click the bell, hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss it. But, like I said, I haven't done them yet. I have a feeling that when I do, I'm probably going to predict the Jets to win somewhere around 6 or 7 games. That's what I'm thinking with them. I just don't see the hype around this New York Jets team. Yes, they have good players. They have a decent defense, and some good offensive pieces. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, they're not bad. But I still have serious doubts about the rest of their receivers. I have doubts about their tight end room. I have really, really serious doubts about their offensive line. And I have doubts about their coaching staff, and I have doubts about Aaron Rodgers. Is he even bought in to this team at all? Like, he skipped training camp. He's not playing in the preseason. The last time that he took a snap was the play that he tore his ACL. Coming off an ACL is really hard to do for anyone. He's 40 years old. I just don't think it's going to be possible for him to successfully pull off coming back from an ACL on a new team. I just don't think it's going to happen. What are the chances he gets hurt again? I mean, I would say pretty high, like 40, 50%. I think Tyrod Taylor is their new backup quarterback. I don't see it with him. And I hate to say that because I love Aaron Rodgers. He's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's always been one of my... I love the Packers. I always rooted for him on the Packers. And I am rooting for him again on the Jets, but at the same time, I just don't believe it. I don't see it there. I mean, he contemplated running for vice president with RFK Jr. So that, I think, tells you how serious he actually is about football. It doesn't feel like football is his top priority anymore. And that's okay, right? You're allowed to have other priorities, but don't expect me to believe in your football career when you are no longer prioritizing it. I don't think I can look at Aaron Rodgers and say, yep, he's a great NFL quarterback. I have him ranked at like 18th, I believe. And I think that's a fair ranking. I do. I just haven't seen him. I haven't seen him play like an elite quarterback in 2 years. And that was with a different team, with a different coach, with a different skill group, with Davante Adams, by the way, and without having torn his ACL, and he was 2 years younger. The difference between 38 and 40 is a big one. The difference between having Davante Adams and not having Davante Adams is a big one. The difference between being on the Packers and the roster that they had versus the Jets is a big one. The difference between being healthy and coming off an ACL is a big one. The difference between Matt LaFleur and Robert Saleh, I think, is a big one. There's a lot of differences. This is not the same player that won the MVP in 2021. And if he plays like he did in 2022, which is fine, right? That was that last year in Green Bay. Remember, after they lost Davante, His last year in Green Bay, he was fine, right? He was average. They won 9 games. They did everything about average. And he wanted out after that. But if he plays the way that he did that last year in Green Bay, the Jets are probably a 7-win team. And that's what they were last year. So I don't believe in it. And my message to you, Aaron Rodgers, show me you're bought in, and maybe I will buy in a little bit more to the New York Jets. All right, we're hearing that Nick Chubb is going to miss at least the first 4 games of the season. Quite a blow, I would say, for the Browns. So let's look at Cleveland's schedule. How is this going to affect them? It's a knee injury. I think it's still related to the injury that kept him out for pretty much the entire season last year. So he will be making a comeback, but it will not be in week 1. The Browns have the Cowboys first. Tough game. It is in Cleveland, but that's a tough game, and especially without Nick Chubb. After that, they go to Jacksonville. Then they host the Giants, and then they play at Las Vegas. Cowboys, Jags, Giants, Raiders. It's not a terrible schedule. All 4 of those games are winnable for them. I would probably say 2-2 is a fair estimate. They could definitely go 3-1 though. They could definitely beat Jacksonville or beat the Cowboys at home. But I think they definitely can beat the Giants, Raiders. Week 5 they play the Commanders. So honestly, if I was them, I would probably wait to bring Nick Chubb back till week 6. Because I do think they can beat Washington. So if they come week 6, they go to Philadelphia. And then after that, it's Bengals, Ravens, Chargers, Saints, Steelers. So yeah, you want him, I think, back. That's a tough 3 games at Philadelphia, and then you host the Bengals and Ravens. Without a bye in between. They have a late bye. Their bye is in November. So I would say the Browns should probably get him back for that Eagles game on October 13th. I think they can be 3-2 before going into that game, and they need to at least split the Bengals-Ravens, I think, to stay viable. Then if they can beat the Chargers, the Saints aren't too bad. They have the Saints after the bye, so they should win that. That puts them at 6-4, and then after that, the rest of their schedule: Steelers, Broncos, Steelers, Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, Ravens. Tough back end of the schedule as well. I don't know if the Browns are a playoff team again or not. I think I'd probably end up saying no. As of now, I did like them a lot. Last year, I correctly had them in the playoffs. But I don't know. I don't know if I believe in them this year or not yet. We'll have to see. Tune into my schedule predictions where I predict every single game of the NFL season live on YouTube Saturday evening. That's happening Saturday evening. And I don't know what I'm going to predict them, but I would say it's tough, specifically that week 1 game against the Cowboys. I think if you have a healthy Nick Chubb, you probably win that game at home. Without Nick Chubb, I think it's really a toss-up. Probably lean Dallas right now. But I think this long-term shouldn't affect them too much. I do feel bad for the guy, though. He barely got to play last year, and the fact that he is now still on the physically unable to perform list, it sucks. I'm sure he wants to go out there and play more than anything else in the world, and I get it, So, good luck to Nick Chubb. Get healthy. All right, we have some trade news. Malik Willis has been traded from the Tennessee Titans to the Green Bay Packers. It's a 7th-round pick. Pretty inconsequential, but it does matter. I mean, backup quarterbacks, as we saw last year, 30 backup quarterbacks saw action in the league. Pretty much all but, I think, 3 teams had to use their backup quarterback, and all but 6 of them started their backup for at least 1 game. So backup quarterbacks are important. Funnily enough, Green Bay was one of those few teams that never had to start their backup. Jordan Love started all of their games, and I believe played pretty much all their games. So Green Bay has had pretty lucky success with not having to go to their backup. but it is always good to have somebody that you want. Green Bay was going into the season with Sean Clifford as their backup. If you've never heard of him, you're in the vast majority. Sean Clifford, not very well known. Meanwhile, the Titans, they already had Mason Rudolph, former Steeler. Mason Rudolph, who could he compete with Will Levis for a starting job? I don't know. I don't know how committed they are to Will Levis at this point, but I think Mason Rudolph is about as talented of a player as Will Levis. Just, I mean, obviously Levis is much younger and probably has more potential, we think. We don't know that, but Levis is their starter, Rudolph their backup. So Malik Willis, the guy who they took in the second round. Remember, he was a third round pick. He was a third round pick. Malik Willis was just sitting as the third stringer. So they got the 7th round pick, and he is now a member of the Packers. In 2022, he started 3 games for Tennessee, went 1-2 with a 50.8% completion percentage. Threw for 276 yards in 3 games. That is not that much. No touchdowns, 3 picks. Needless to say, he was not all that good. A QB rating of 42.8, QBR 13.3. He took 10 sacks. Last year, played in 3 games, didn't start. He was 4 for 5, 80% completion, but granted only 5 pass attempts, 74 yards, no touchdowns, but no picks, for a QBR of 118.7. As far as his rushing stats go, in his rookie season, 27 attempts, 123 yards, and 1 touchdown. Last year, 5 attempts for 21 yards. In college, he was fairly mobile. And that could be an aspect of his game. The Titans just never trusted him. I mean, even when he did start, they didn't even really let him throw the football. He was one of the worst quarterbacks that saw action in 2022. And he is, I mean, yeah, he's still, it's funny because Sean Clifford might have been the worst backup quarterback in the league, and Malik Willis maybe is like the 3rd worst. So it's not really a huge jump for them. It's not a huge upgrade. I do think it is a slight upgrade, and I think it's an upgrade at least in potential, because Willis hasn't proven himself to be any good in the NFL, but he does, I think, have more potential. He was a 3rd round pick. So maybe there's something there. All right, let's get into a big story. NFL roster cuts happening. We're going to see if there's anything here. There's definitely are. So we're going to just go team by team. This is according to CBS. Cardinals. Michael Carter, former Jet, getting cut. Anybody else that looks familiar? A lot of guys that I don't... Ooh, that's interesting. Wait, okay, is this the... So this is the players who got cut. They cut... Yeah, wow, they cut Desmond Ridder. So who's their backup quarterback now? Cardinals depth chart. I'm curious. Clayton Tune won the backup quarterback job over Desmond Ridder. Wow. How the mighty have fallen. He was meant to be there. He was the starter for the Falcons last year. Now he can't even get a backup job. That's crazy. That's crazy. Anybody else interesting? Elijah Wilkinson being cut. Yeah, okay. Falcons. Anything interesting here? Prince Emili. I like his name. Kevin King. Cornerback Kevin King. Cut from the Falcons. Wow. That's interesting. Okay. Baltimore Ravens. They cut both of their backup quarterbacks. They do have a third one. They have, who is it? It's not the guy that has been. It's not Tyler Huntley. They do have another backup though. Malik Cunningham and Russell Gage. Whoa. Okay, so some receivers being cut from the Ravens. Russell Gage, former Falcon. Keith Kirkwood, he saw some action last year as well. Wow. And then nothing else really that stands out here. Okay, for the Bills, Ben DiNucci. Yikes. I remember that one game when he played during COVID when Andy Dalton was hurt and Dak was hurt. Frank Gore Jr. cut by the Bills. Not the same player as his dad. KJ Hamler has been cut. Andy Isabella. Remember when he was like the next big thing for the Cardinals? Yeah, he's just got cut by the Bills. Trey McKitty being cut. Yeah, interesting. Now keep in mind, a lot of these players will go back to practice squads, but still, it's interesting that they are getting cut. Felipe Franks, former Falcons backup quarterback, now he's a tight end. He got cut by the Panthers. Jacob Hollister, former Seattle Seahawk, he just got cut. Terrace Marshall being cut. He was like their 4th receiver last year, I think. Dylan Johnson saw some action last year. He's out. Lamar Jackson, the cornerback, cut. Dang. Look out. Yeah, I mean, guys are going to get cut. For the Bears, any interesting here? Brett Ripien. Brett Ripien has been cut for Chicago. Who's their new backup quarterback? If it's not Ripien, they are employing, let's see, not Carolina. They are employing Tyson Bagent as their backup quarterback. He won the job over Brett Ripien. That's wild. I would have thought Ripien was better. Who else? Nothing really interesting there. For the Bengals, Andre Carter has been cut. Rocky Lombardi. Quarterback Rocky Lombardi. What a name he has. I was rooting for that guy, but yeah, he was never... I mean, Jake Browning, he is their backup. He had a good season last year, filling in for Joe Burrow. Yeah. Anything else here? Not really. Logan Woodside, also former Titans backup. He has been cut. Okay. Browns. Anything here? Jermaine Ifedi, former Seahawks offensive tackle. He's been cut. Dante Foreman. He was a starter for a while with Atlanta. He's cut. James Prosh being cut. Jalen Darden. He played a little bit last year. Okay, Zach Johnson, I think he was once a starter, maybe. Okay, Dallas, always a big one. A lot of guys I've never heard of being cut from the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think any of these names really ring a bell. How about Snoop Connor? How about that? Royce Freeman, okay, there's a name. Royce Freeman, he's seen some action. Yeah, he was really good in college, I think. He's been cut. With the Broncos, we've got Samaj Pirine. Ooh, that's a big one because he was supposed to be their backup. So I guess let's check their depth chart. I think that means Jaleel McLaughlin is now their number 2. Yeah, so Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams. So Samaj Pirine, wow, they signed him and they thought he was going to compete to be their starting back. Philip Dorsett, yeah, he's on this list a lot. Lil Jordan Humphrey has been cut. Whoa, Tim Patrick has been cut. And Brandon Johnson. So they just cut their entire receiving core. Who is left in that receiving core? They've got Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, and Devon Vele? Wow, Tim Patrick. I remember like 2 years ago, he was like a fantasy... Everyone was drafting him in fantasy super high. People were in on Tim Patrick. Wow, that's crazy. Nobody else really there. Lions cutting Nate Sudfeld. Lions also cutting Jake Fromm. Who's their backup? I thought Jake Fromm and Nate Sudfeld were battling to be the backup. Hendon Hooker. Okay, rookie Hendon Hooker is now their backup. So yeah, that makes sense. Jake Fromm was not good with the Giants when he played with them. Maurice Alexander being cut. Donovan Peoples-Jones, former number 3 on the Browns. He was a legit receiver at one point. He has now been cut. Who else? Anybody else interesting in here? Stephen Gilmore, not Stephon, Stephen Gilmore. For the Packers, quarterback Michael Pratt, Sean Clifford, both being cut. Kicker Anders Carlson. Okay, he was their starting kicker last year. So who's their new kicker? Their new kicker, apparently, is Greg Joseph. Didn't know that. Samori Toure got some action last year. He is out. By the way, AJ Dillon, if you didn't hear, he's out for the season for Green Bay. That sucks. Not their starting back, but he's their number 2. For the Texans, Noah Brown. Noah Brown had a good season last year, so that's interesting that he has been cut. Tim Boyle, yeah, he's nothing. He was awful last year for the Jets. Ben Skowronek, Tegan Quitoriano. I like that name. He has been cut as well. For the Colts, we've got Keaton Slovis. He was never going to make the team. Levi Bell. I always feel for the guys named Levi. I like the Levis. Evan Hull, he played some last year. Laquan Treadwell. Ooh, that's interesting. Former Jaguar. Laquan Treadwell, cut from the Colts. Nobody really else I see in there. Jaguars. Who did they cut? Not a whole lot of people in here that I've ever heard of. Gary Brightwell, former Giants running back, he has been cut. CJ Beathard being cut. That's interesting. So they obviously they do have Mac Jones now. I'm assuming that they'll bring back Beathard for the practice squad. But wow. So that's a commitment to Mac Jones as their backup is what that is. Former Seattle Seahawk Trey Flowers has been cut by the Jaguars as well. For the Chiefs, Ian Book, former Saint, former Notre Dame starting quarterback Ian Book has been cut. Keontae Ingram, Justin Ross, he was decent. And Kadarius Toney. Wow. Former first-round pick Kadarius Toney has been cut by the Chiefs. Irv Smith, also former starter for the Bengals. Irv Smith has been cut. Okay. Raiders, Nathan Peterman. The fact that he's even still in the league is crazy because he was so bad when he was playing. He's been cut. Who else in here? Anybody else that looks familiar? Not really. For the Raiders, the Chargers, Donald Parham. He had that one crazy good game last year, and I was like in on Donald Parham. Might have to be with a different team. He just got cut. Quarterback Luis Perez has been cut. Elijah Dotson has been cut. Isaiah Spiller has been cut. These guys played last year. Okay, wow. Rams, anything here? Boston Scott, former Eagle. Yeah, just never really broke out in the league. I was really high on him coming out of college. Not really anybody else there. Dolphins, Mike White. Mike White has been cut by the Dolphins. Wow. He was good with the Jets. I think a team will take a chance on him. Savon Ahmed has been cut. He was like decent for them last year too. I thought he had a decent season with them. I guess they disagreed. Anybody else in here that looks interesting? Not really. Vikings cutting Myles Gaskin. Ooh, another former college stud. Never really caught on in the NFL. Matt Corral. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy. Obviously, his first preseason, he was out for the season. Never really even got a chance. Not that he was meant to be all that good. AJ Green, the cornerback, has been cut. Nothing else really here. Oh, Robert Tonyan. Okay. Remember Robert Tonyan had that like 10 touchdown season with Green Bay about 3 years ago. Now he cannot make the NFL roster. Wow. Patriots. We've got anything interesting here. Bailey Zappi. Okay, Bailey Zappi has officially been cut from New England. So they're keeping Joe Milton. They're keeping Brissett. Zappi gets the axe, and that makes sense. He's been terrible when he has played. Chad Ryland, their kicker, has been cut. So who's their new kicker? I wonder. New England Patriots. Their new kicker is Joey Sly. Okay. Joey Sly. Saints. Samson Nakua, not Puka Nakua. Equanimous St. Brown. So those are they both brothers to, is that Amon-Ra St. Brown's brother and Puka's brother? I don't know, but that's interesting. Their punter Lou Headley getting the axe, and their kicker Charlie Smith. Wow. Ugo Amadi, former Seahawk, he's been cut. Mason Fairchild. For the Giants, they're cutting Trey Herndon, cornerback Trey Herndon. That's a big name. At least he was. Allen Robinson has been cut, as has Isaiah McKenzie. So former Bill Isaiah McKenzie and former Jaguar/Bear Allen Robinson. Man, tough how the NFL changes. Allen Robinson was a really good receiver back in the day. Miles Boykin also has been cut. Isaiah Hodgins. They cut a lot of receivers. Whoa. look out, Josh Kelly, who had that great stretch of games for the Chargers, and then he fell off. Josh Kelly's been cut. I think a team will take a chance on him as a backup, as like a number 3. I could see that happening. For the Jets cutting, who have they cut? Not really anything interesting here, to be honest. Nothing really there for the Jets. Eagles, Paris Campbell, former Colt, he has been cut. Will Greer, it feels like he gets cut every single year in training camp. John Ross, dude, I was so high on John Ross coming out of college. He was so fast. UW grad, he has been cut by the Eagles. Nothing else really here for them. Steelers, Quez Watkins getting the cut. John Reese Plumlee has been cut. Not a whole lot, though. Again, not a whole lot. 49ers, anybody interesting on here? Matt Breida. He was once their starting running back. Matt Breida cut by the 49ers. Trent Taylor last year on the Bills. He has been cut. A lot of offensive tackles getting cut by them. Seahawks cutting PJ Walker. He'll catch on somewhere. He's been good enough. Dwayne Eskridge, former second rounder. Oh, that hurts for me to say. Former second round receiver Dwayne Eskridge has been cut. Jack Westover has been cut. Anybody else in here? Not really. Again, not really. Artie Burns getting cut is pretty interesting. And so is Marquise Blair. Both have been starters for this team before. Buccaneers cutting John Wolford, so they are committed to Kyle Trask as their backup. Sterling Shepard, he still plays. I guess not anymore. He just got cut. Yeah, okay, interesting stuff there. Titans, Tennessee. The Titans, yeah, and really nobody that I even recognize from their list. And the Commanders cutting Chris Rodriguez, their number 3 from last year, cutting Martavis Bryant. Not really. Oh, Sam Hartman, rookie Notre Dame Sam Hartman, he's been cut. Wow, so they're not even gonna give him a shot. And Trace McSorley, the meme lord Trace McSorley, throw it on a dime like I ain't even trying. I just got cut by the Commanders. Call me Trace McSorley. Yeah, he has been cut as well. That is going to wrap this video up. So Dylan Cruz has made his Major League debut for the Nationals. Played against the New York Yankees. Just got promoted in AAA. He's been sent in the month of August with the Red Wings AAA. He's been hitting .309 with a .529 slugging. The 22-year-old out of LSU. He was super hyped as a prospect, one of the highest rated prospects in the Nationals system. He batted second, playing right field in his Major League debut between CJ Abrams and James Wood. And those 3 could be a really good trio in the future. Abrams, Wood, and Cruz. How about that? The plan is for him to play some center field as well. Manager Dave Martinez. It's exciting to see them together. Yes, it absolutely is. In his first at-bat, he flew out to Juan Soto, former National Juan Soto. He walked in his second at-bat. And then in the 6th inning, he struck out with runners on second and third. Grounded out to DJ LeMahieu in the 8th and finished the night 0-for-3. What's really cool about this is that Dylan Cruz being promoted on the same weekend as the same week that his former Little League team just won the Little League World Series. Lake Mary winning the Little League World Series. I like watching Little League baseball. It's fun. And I think that there's still a pureness to the game, and there still is the Major League level as well. I'm not saying there isn't, but the Little League games are so pure, and it's just fun to watch. These kids, they're playing all out. They're giving it their all. Lake Mary defeated, I believe it was Chinese Taipei that they defeated. They're from Florida. Yeah, they won in extra innings against Chinese Taipei. It was a walk-off bunt. Hunter Alexander from Lake Mary, Florida, laid down a bunt along the first base line. Lathan Norton was on at second base. The goal was to advance Norton from second to third. Chinese Taipei, Chiu Wei-che, the pitcher for the opposing Chinese Taipei, ran off the mound, tried to throw it to first. His first baseman wasn't there. So it was an error, a defensive error that allowed the winning run to score. Final score, 2-1. So a cool story for them, cool story for Lake Mary, and a cool story for Dylan Cruz. He used to play for Lake Mary Little League, and now his former Little League team has won the World Series on the same week that he is now a Major League Baseball player. Congratulations, Dylan Cruz, and congratulations to the boys from Lake Mary's and from Chinese Taipei. Good for them as well. All right, let's talk some track. If you guys remember back in the Olympics, Jakob Ingebrigtsen out of Norway, he was the favorite to win the men's 1500-meter race, and he ended up finishing fourth. Of course, it was American Cole Hocker, the guy with the ponytail. Cole Hocker had that dramatic comeback win, and he beat Ingebrigtsen, and there was the whole rivalry with him and Kerr. Well, Zurich Diamond League has been organizing some more races, so they just rematched Ingebrigtsen and Hocker in a field of a lot of other guys as well, and Ingebrigtsen blew him away. I don't know what it is about the Olympics. Maybe it's just the pressure of the stage, but Ingebrigtsen won by 3 seconds, which is a lot more than what Hocker won by in the Olympics. Team USA just has that edge in the Olympics, but Ingebrigtsen's back and he's here to stay. Hocker, to his credit, he ran another sub 330, so he is still right there as one of the top 1500-meter athletes in the world. But Ingebrigtsen he's back with a vengeance, and he wants to prove that he is the best at this. He now has 3 world records. He wants to set 10 world records, he says. 3 down, 10 to go, or 3 down, 7 to go is what he tweeted. The good news is that's not the last that we're going to see of him. Zurich Diamond League organizers have announced that all 3 of the Olympic medalists, including Neguse, the other guy from the States, and Josh Kerr, are going to be there. They're going to be back in the Zurich Diamond League on September 5th, as well as Jakob Ingebrigtsen. So we're going to see the rematch of the century, perhaps, on September 5th, as all of the top 4 from that Olympic podium are going to be back in the Diamond League. I'm going to be watching that race very, very closely. But yeah, Ingebrigtsen's back, and he does not want to he's a very cocky athlete. He's got the big contract with Nike, and I'm sure Cole Hocker, if he hasn't signed it already, he will as well, because now that everybody in America knows Cole Hocker, man, he's going to get paid. But it goes to show that, yes, an Olympic medal is the peak of your sport, but man, the pressure, the lights shine bright. And Cole Hocker said that after the race. He said maybe the pressure of being the Olympic gold medalist got to him, and he felt like he had to defend it. But yeah, it's a fickle sport, and it's similar as any sport, right? In football, like, the best team's only going to win 8 out of 10 times. In baseball, the best team's only going to win 6 out of 10 times. And in track and field, the best sprinter is still not going to win every single time. Guys have off days. There's a strategy behind it. You push the pace. Sometimes, if it's a fast pace, that benefits some athletes. It hurts other athletes. The guy who sets the pace often gives himself a really good chance at winning. So there's always a lot of factors that are involved. And it goes to show, yeah, just how different things can be, especially outside the Olympics. Now, another Olympian, if you remember, Sweden's Mondo Duplantis. Mondo just broke his world record again. So remember, it was so hyped. We watched the Olympic gold medal for the pole vault, and he had already won the competition, but he wanted to break his world record. He already had it. So he had set the world record at 6.24 meters. They raised it to 6.25, and he broke the record. Everyone went crazy because he failed the first 2 times. He made it the 3rd time. He just set it again at 6.26, 20 days. His record stood for 20 days, and then he decided to break it again. at the Zurich Diamond League. I mean, come on, man. How is that? Crazy, right? I mean, it does beg the question, why didn't he just keep going at the Olympics? Well, the reason is because he gets paid every time. Every time that he breaks his own world record, he gets like a $10,000 bonus. And I'm not sure who that's from. If that's from Guinness, maybe, or if it's from the World Athletic Championships. I don't know, but he makes like $10,000 each time he breaks the world record. But if he just breaks them all on the same day, then he doesn't get anything. So he's broken his own record 10 times. That's $100,000. And I'm sure he'll break it again. Best pole vaulter in the history of the world. And I'm sure there'll be another pole vaulter that comes around and has even better technique and breaks all his records. But it is pretty cool to watch. I mean, Mondo is just, he's a freak. He's an athletic freak. Now, that's not all he's going to do. We've also been told that the Zurich Diamond League has confirmed that Olympic champion Mondo Duplantis will compete against the 400-meter hurdles world record holder and Olympic silver medalist Karsten Warholm over 100 meters on September 4th. So Duplantis is going to try his hand at sprinting. He's going to race against a hurdler. Karsten Warholm from Norway ran a 10.49. Duplantis' personal best is a 10.57, so Warholm would be the favorite. Is there some sort of beef between those two? I don't know. I guess we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, kind of neat that they're gonna sprint, even though sprinting is not either of their sports. But yeah, I guess so. They're just both really big names in track, but yeah, neither of them have. Yeah, so okay, Duplantis has been interested in getting into sprinting, but he never really has yet. So that'll be his first kind of endeavor into a new sport. So that'll be interesting to watch. We'll be there covering. Well, I'll definitely have to cover that for you guys on September 4th. All right, here we go. Time for my NFL Offensive Player of the Year rankings. We continue NFL Predictions Week. Really, it's just wide receiver of the year. I mean, yeah, they sometimes give it to running backs. Most of the time, this award goes to the best wide receiver in football. I did throw one running back in here. If anyone can win it as a running back, I think it would be CMC, just because he's so dynamic. He can run. He can also throw. And we've seen him throw touchdown passes. He also catches. You know, he can receive. He's fairly good out of the backfield, actually, as a receiving back. So McCaffrey does it all. I think if any running back will win it, it'll either be him or Bijan. But he's my number 5. At number 4, I was between 3 receivers. I ended up going with Amon-Ra St. Brown, so I left CeeDee Lamb off because I'm not sure if he will have a great month of September because of the holdout. I also left off A.J. Brown because, again, he's competing for targets with Devontae Smith. But Amon-Ra is the number 1 guy on his team. He's the top option on Detroit. He's very talented. Jared Goff loves him. It's a high-flying offense. I think if Amon-Ra St. Brown hits his max, he could totally be a Offensive Player of the Year candidate. But he's not one of my clear top 3 receivers, and that's who is in the number 1. Jamar Chase at 3. We've seen the talent. The talent's there. He's probably going to get paid as potentially the highest paid receiver in all of football. So Jamar Chase I have at 3. Justin Jefferson at 2, currently the highest paid receiver in all of football. The reason he's at 2 and not 1 is simply because I don't trust his quarterback. Like, for as talented as he is, I'm not sure if he can overcome Sam Darnold being his quarterback. I'm just not sure if he can. Like, that's tough. It's tough for anyone to overcome Sam Darnold as their quarterback. So that's why at number 1 is Tyreek Hill. And I think he won the award last year, and he should win it again. I mean, he's just so good. If he plays to his best ability, he will be the NFL Offensive Player of the Year once again. He has the ability to go for 2,000 yards. He has the ability to, 10 touchdowns is easy for him. So good, so dynamic. Best route runner in football, best receiver in football, fastest receiver in football. Probably not. There's probably somebody out there who's faster, but you know what I mean. Tyreek Hill is so good. So he is my current favorite for NFL Offensive Player of the Year. And with that, we wrap up the show. So thank you so much for watching. This is Coast to Coast Sports. Remember, guys, like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, all the good stuff. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing MVPs. Top 10 MVP candidates as we continue on with NFL Prediction Week.